and a very good evening to all the participants. So the brief and very good evening to Dr. Manas also. The brief which is given to me is to talk about social media monitoring. So in this like 1.5 hour which I have with you, so we'll be talking about social media monitoring. We'll talk about the need of social media monitoring and listening. In fact, when you talk about social media research or social media monitoring and listening, there's this one thing which I would like to share with you. I mean, a long time back, Vibe, I mean, who was a psychologist and a marketer, he said, like in one of the conference, and he had written that in the journal also. See, and this is what he said. He said that the way we can sell soaps can we sell brotherhood, wherein he was trying to say that there are a lot of lessons which we can take from people who are there in marketing and advertising. So if one can sell soap, I mean, one can sell brotherhood also. So which means like, how can we integrate, all those marketing communication in creating awareness on the issues which matters us the most. Similarly, like when we are talking about social media monitoring, there are a lot of things which are happening in advertising and public relations, in marketing. The companies, they are using social media monitoring extensively, and that is something which we need to look at. How they are doing it, and how we can integrate that in our research, and how we can actually try and do a lot of things because of the kind of conversations which are happening on social media, the people, the way people are engaging with each other on social media platforms. There are certain researches which I have done in the past, and I just want to share like one of the research which I did. It was long time back, when social media came, and when most of the ministers and the ministries, they started being there on social media, and they started their own social media handles. This was basically to know how different cabinet ministers, they were using social media at that point of time, and how different ministries, they were handling social media. And not only like the kind of content which they're posting, the entire analysis of what kind of content was like at that point of time doing well, when they were posting that particular content. So that's the one research which I did, and in fact, like, it was really very easy. If you have to do same sort of research, I mean, it will take a lot of time of ours, which means like we might spend months doing that particular research. But nowadays, with access to number of digital tools which are available to all of us, there are a number of things which we can do within few days. um, I'll be taking you through, some of the tools which are available. But of course, because most of the marketing people are using those particular tools, and of course, like the tools also have to, earn out of that. So many of them would be like the paid tools. But whatever the tools which we have right now, they work on a freemium mode, which means like there are certain things in those tools which are freely available, and for the rest, we might have to pay. So there are certain things which I'll be sharing with you. But for the research, even if you use the free part and the free features of that, I think that will help us a lot in that. So just give me a while. I'll just put up my presentation which I have right now, and then I'll take you through my presentation. In between, if you have any question, because I'll be able to look at only the presentation on my screen, so you can always unmute yourself, and you can always ask question. So is that fine? So shall I start? Okay. So can you see my the presentation on screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So is it full screen or what? Yes. I think it's full screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what we are going to talk about, social media for research. And we'll talk about two very important issues. The one is social media monitoring, and another one is social media listening. And I'll be drawing a lot of examples from, marketing, advertising, and public relations, and entirely up to us as an academicians, how we are going to use it in academics, or the kind of research which we are planning to conduct. So this is the agenda. Need for the
I'm so, ma'am, sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
yeah, please.
Actually, there is a the dialog box that has been popping up on your screen. If you
Uh-huh.
can cross that uh, one window is open. Yes, you can cross that.
Is this fine
Yes,
now?
yes, 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 ma'am.
Okay, fine.
Thank
So, why social media? Need for the research. Now, I don't see anything, no faces, nothing. So, if you have to say something, you have to just unmute yourself, and like, then you can communicate with me. So,
you. Yes,
okay, fine. Thank you so much. We'll also talk about, trying to find out the difference between these two very important topics, which is like what is social listening and what is social monitoring. We'll also talk about, different social media monitoring tools which are available. And of course, like we'll be talking about what, when, why, and how of social media monitoring tools. There's a toolkit also, and then of course we'll be talking about data and privacy, because we keep talking about social media monitoring a lot and listening a lot, but the data and privacy issues becomes very important, which means like whether we have taken consent from people. There are a lot of companies, tech platforms who are into trouble. There are copyright. Just a minute. So, okay. So one is, when we are talking about being on digital platform, um, one very important thing is that with every click, we leave a digital trail, which means, whatever we are doing, on internet, on social media platform, whatever we are clicking, wherever we are going, I mean, it leaves a digital trail, and it actually tells us a lot about how people are interacting with each other, the kind of content they are engaging with, and how they are engaging with that particular content. And if you see this, this is something which was said by Stephens, who is a scientist with Google. It says that the Google searches are the most important data set ever collected on the human psyche. So which means lot of people sharing a lot of content on social media platforms, but at the same time, when people are searching content on Google search engine, you can tell a lot about those particular people, their psychology, the kind of content which they are searching, the issues they are interested in. Many a times it might happen, and especially like for all of us as a researcher, that we might take our questionnaire to different audiences, or maybe like we try and organize different focus groups, but there will be a lot of people who will be very apprehensive on talking on number of issues. But if you get to know like what exactly are they searching, how they are searching, how they are navigating internet landscape, at that point of time we'll be able to get a lot of insights. So the Google searches are the most important data set ever collected on the human psyche. And there are a lot of, the personas which they have created based on how people are searching content on different search engines. It could be Google search engine, or maybe like Bing, or maybe like if you're talking about Russia, it could be Yandex, it could be Baidu. So the number of search engines are available. Now, one thing is, why we are talking about this very important aspect of social media listening and social media monitoring, because we have seen this and we've witnessed this fundamental shift in the way we are finding information, making decisions, engaging with people, and making ourselves heard. And this has happened more after COVID, when people shifted to their smartphones for most of the information they wanted to have. COVID was the time when number of people might not had access to smartphones before, but during that particular time, because a lot of things were happening on smartphone, so they had to shift towards that. And this includes a lot of people in tier 2, tier 3 cities. It also includes a lot of people who are not very well off. For example, when the entire schooling was happening and education was happening, smartphones, so people were forced to buy, those particular phones at that point of time. So there's a fundamental shift that is happening, and we are all living in those micro movements nowadays. And now, what are these micro movements? These micro moments are those moments when people, they reflexively turns towards their smartphone to get answer on anything under the sun. So if they want to learn something, they want to do something, they want to visit a one particular place, they want to buy something, so the first thing which they do nowadays is like they approach their smartphones and they try and find out answers to that. For example, and especially like at the time of the crisis, when Operation Sindoor happened, there were a lot of searches which were happening on Operation Sindoor. People wanted to know like what exactly it is, who all are involved in that, when will that stop, and how is it like going to that particular state at that point of time, how the local people were affected by that. So people were asking a lot of questions at that point of time. And if someone was doing research on maybe like communication happening during that time, at the time of the war, I think they would have got very good data when if they would have served how people are searching content on different search engines. And these movements are intent rich movements wherein a lot of decisions are being made and preferences are shaped. So, for example, if I have to enroll for a course, say, for example, maybe like I search for Christ University. And when I start getting results, from social media platform or Google search engine about, Christ University, that is the time when the chances are that I'll make certain decisions. Now, that decision could be anything. If you have a content which is good, which is positive, I might take admission, but if it is not, then I might not take, but some decision will be taken based on the content which we are actually consuming during these micro movements. So if you look at the type of these micro movements, and this means like the type of content which is being generated and the kind of content which we can use for our researches. So there can be the movement, like I want to know movements, when someone is exploring or researching but is not necessarily in a purchase mode. So it's not every time that we have to purchase, but many a times we keep surfing, we keep exploring, try and find out number of things. So these are something which we call I want to know movements. And then you have movements like I want to go movements, when you're looking for maybe like some local business or maybe like hospital nearby or school nearby. So you might be considering to purchase or visit certain place. So but the thing is that you are looking at the location and you would like to go to that particular place. I want to do movement is when someone wants, any sort of help in doing a certain task. Students are sitting with, maybe like their homework, or maybe like we as in researchers were sitting to find out, certain content related to, the kind of research which we are doing. So at that point of time, how search engines are helping us. And now, of course, like we'll be talking about the shift from search engine to AI, which is happening right now, and how searches are happening on artificial intelligence too. And then, of course, the last one is I want to buy movements. So when someone is ready to make purchase and may need help deciding what to buy or how to buy those particular things. So these are game changing movements that actually matters. People take a lot of decision based on these movements, the way they are searching content, the way they are exploring different places, the way they are exploring information on different products, services, issues, the way in these movements they take action when they find right sort of information. So this is like a huge data set which is in front of us. Many a times what happens that when we have to do research, we feel that we need to go out and we need to do survey, we need to speak to people. Of course, like that's also very important. It's always good to go out and speak to people at grassroots level. But the thing is that now when the most of the conversations are happening online, I think we need to meet our respondents there online. We need to see what they are actually doing on this particular platform. So these are some examples. For example, if you try and find out uh, these micro movements for different organizations. So for Indian Army, it could be like how to join Indian Army. This is like I want to know movements. There are a lot of people who are searching about Indian Army. There are a lot of people who are searching about where the different commands are. There are a lot of people who are searching about where are different academies of Indian Army. So these are all I want to know movements. Then you have the movements like I want to do movements. So if you want to prepare for that, and civil services, whether it's NDA or CDS, so at that point of time people are searching for that particular content. Now this also is a very important thing. For example, if someone is working in Indian Army, that at the time of the recruitment, people are searching a lot of content. So what is that thing which people are searching on social media platform? Then I want to prepare movements. So if you're preparing for Indian Army, like what is that content, videos, text, audio available, using which you can start preparing for that. Now these movements are extremely important because one is that of course you need to know what your target audience is, they're searching about it. But at the same time, what do you do with that insight? One is that all these organizations and the when you talk about Indian Army, or maybe like you look at Christ University, so we all have social media platform. So the thing is that the kind of insight which you're getting from this can be used for the social media content. Usually what happens that and this is with most of the organization, whether it's a government setup or whether it's a private setup, that we put out content on our social media platform, not because our audiences are seeking that content, but because we feel that that is important for them. And I think it should be other way around. When we know that these are a number of questions which people are asking, I think we should be answering to their questions first, rather than every time putting out content wherein we are sharing our success stories with them, or maybe like we are telling these are the prominent people launching something, releasing something, which usually happens in most of the the government social media platforms. Then people also search when they are curious, and that is the time when a lot of researches can be done. Say for example, this is like the Google trend infographic on when the surgical strike happened. The people were not even searching for this particular term, but again at the time of surgical strike there was a spike, and people were typing this particular search query, and they were trying to find out a lot of information around this. So that is something which had happened. And in fact nowadays, even like while we are doing research, but if you look at the newsrooms and when the journalists they are doing their stories, many a times they use Google trend to see like how people are searching on various search queries, or what is it which is trending at this point of time. Because if you put out content which is trending, or something something which I can say like trending keywords, the chances are like your page, which is, it could be your website, it could be your blog, that it will be there on the first search engine result page. So this is something which we call search engine optimization. So using data not only for the research, but using data to create content, one, it's relevant, but at the same time it is also rewarding in the sense of that you make money out of it. People also search when they need answers. For example, like you just type one word and it will give you list of words which people are interested in related to that one word. So for example, as you can see on screen, surgical strike date, then year, essay, someone might be preparing for some civil services examination. And these are very good insights, because otherwise we would not know what kind of searches people are making on search engines, or maybe like social media search engines. And we'll talk about it, when I'm saying social media search engine, what does that mean? Now look at this infographic, and I'll take you through this particular tool also, maybe like towards the end of the presentation. Now this is the tool which we call Answer the Public. Answer the Public is again social media monitoring and listening tool. It will tell you that what kind of questions and what kind of queries people are making related to one particular term. So in this case, I've done this for Indian Army, but you can do it for anything. And that's the kind of exercise, if time permits, we'll do that towards the end of the session, which means you take any search query. You want to do it for Christ University, you can do that. You want to do it for the AI Impact Summit, which is going to happen in Delhi from February 16th to 20th, which is like a very important event happening in our country. You can do that, and it will tell you what kind of questions people are asking. And in fact, when this tool came, it was only focusing at that point of time on search engines. But at this point of time, a lot of people have moved from searching content on search engine to searching content on AI platforms. So it tells you about AI platforms also, that what kind of questions people are typing on AI platforms to search anything related to any issue, any event, any organization, individuals, brands. So there's a lot of information which is available there for us as a researchers to see and to work upon. And of course, if you talk about the number of queries, 6,500 plus queries every hour in India. And the important is understanding the question, answer the queries, especially for those who are handling social media platforms. But for us, people, as a researchers, understanding those questions and trying to weave those particular questions in our research. Now, this is what I said, that we'll talk about this, and this is something which is very interesting. And, like we are at a stage wherein, a lot of things are happening. The transformation is happening at a global level because of artificial intelligence. And in fact, this is something that had, started long time back, decades back, when Alan Turing asked this question, can machines think? And from that time to now, the technology has evolved. And these are the shifts which are happening. There were times when we were searching content on search engines because, that is something which was available. But when people moved to social media platforms, they started searching on social media platforms. They started using social media platforms as a search engine. So if I was spending a lot of time on maybe Facebook or X, or maybe like Snapchat, so all these platforms, as you can see here, gives me the possibility to search content there. And of course, like because of like this hashtags which are available, curating content becomes easy. But at the same time, finding that particular content also had become very easy. So, and that's the second shift that had happened when people started using social media as a search engine. Now the third thing which is happening is that people are using AI platforms as search engines. So now I think if you have a question, instead of typing it on search engine, and this you also might have witnessed, your own the way you search content, that in the last few months we type less search queries on search engine and more on AI platforms. So that's the shift which is happening. So people also use social media as primary search tool, and with social media I would say that artificial intelligence also. reflecting a broader trend where traditional search engines are supplemented or even replaced by social network plus artificial intelligence searches. So that is something which had started happening. And on social media platforms, of course, like there is huge and large amount of data lying there to be explored, to be researched. And that is something, which all of us, as a researcher, need to mine and to make sense of, what is happening and how the conversation are happening on these social media platforms. Younger generations, now, this is another very interesting aspect, when we are talking about social media searches, because different generations are using social media, search engines, AI differently. Now, this is like one data set wherein, young generation and how they are using social media to search over, Google or other search engines. So if you look at Gen Z, 46% of them, they are actually using social media to search content, followed by millennials, which is like 35%, and then Gen X, which is 18%, and then baby boomers, 7%. And that's how people are searching content. So, for example, if you're doing research with maybe like Gen Z, so we need to look at, what platforms are they on, right? And this is like one research like we are part of, wherein we are trying to find out, how this young generation, they're using AI, what kind of questions are they asking, what is the impact of, artificial intelligence on their mental health. In fact, as I said, that, when we talk about AI, there's a lot of discussions and there are a lot of debates which are happening at this point of time, because of course, like, the AI summit is happening in our country, but it- similar events had happened in number of other countries also. For example, France, UK, Africa, Seoul, all the, AI summit had happened. So the focus of these summits, and especially like the one which is happening in India, is not only on, the innovative product which will come out of it, but also around, a lot of other ethical issues. We're talking about, trust, we're talking about safety, privacy, also like the impact of this on job market. So lot of things which are happening, in this particular ecosystem. And I think, this is the right time wherein, we should start thinking about, doing researches in this particular area. Yesterday only, like at IMC, we conducted this pre-summit for this AI Impact Summit, and this was a roundtable discussion on bridging academia and industry divide in the AI skill development. And there were a lot of very good, suggestion that came from the practitioners as well as the academician. And the one was that nowadays a lot of things are happening in AI, in the sense that there are researches happening when you talk about the academia, but at the same time in industry, they are exploring and experimenting with, how it is being integrated in their workflow. So there also, like, we have a lot of success stories which needs to be documented. So one of the suggestion was, like, why not to have a journal wherein, you're talking about the academic researches also, but at the same time, some of the applied researches, or like how it is being integrated in the newsrooms. So these are the things which are happening right now. And of course, at this point of time, if we need to look at research, we need to look at research in totally different way, because of the new developments which are happening right now. Now, these are few tools which you can try maybe like little later. All of you are academicians. Some of you might have, tried these tools before, and some of you might not have. But I would suggest, like, whenever you have time, or maybe like after this particular session. So one is like Google Trends, excellent tool that talks about, how people are searching worldwide, right? What are those very trending search queries? So this actually tells you and gives you a sort of insight into the mood of people, the kind of content which they are actually searching. You can also do the comparative analysis of searches. Say, for example, you want to do the comparative analysis of how people across the world, or maybe like in US or India, they're searching about two individuals, for example, maybe Trump and maybe like Prime Minister Modi. So you can do that comparative analysis also. So excellent tool. So you can try that particularly. There are a lot of newsrooms also, like they're using these tools. So it's not just for the research, but nowadays there's a very thin line between advertising and editorial. So if the people who are writing stories, if they've been asked to integrate the keywords which are trending, that means somewhere we're also talking about advertising and promoting that content while we are developing it. So Google Trends helps you in doing that. And the second one is the Answer the Public. The infographic which you saw just a few slides back was made using Answer the Public. Excellent tool. And as I said before, initially it started with the search engines. Now it actually tells you like how people are searching on social media platforms. It also tells you like how people are searching on different AI platforms. So it's a gold mine of consumer insight for the people who are into comms field, but and it can help them in creating the content which is relevant to their target audiences. But as a researcher, that gives us a lot of insight and a lot of data on the topic and the research area which we are working in. And then of course, like all the platforms, not only Twitter, but if you talk about YouTube, if you talk about Facebook, Snapchat, all these platforms, they have their own advanced search, and which actually helps you in finding out different hashtags which are there, mentions, accounts, time frames, etc. So there are a lot of things that can be done using this. So whenever you have time, do explore like these three. In fact, the first two I would suggest and recommend strongly that you should try it whenever you have time. And also when you're trying it, you have to think from the researcher point of view. Because as I said before, most of the tools are being developed for the people who are in communications, or maybe like those who are in marketing. But we will also get a lot from these particular tools. So the research which I talked about, wherein we were trying to find out how different cabinet ministers and ministries are using social media platforms, I used Answer the Public for that, and I use Google Trend for that. So that is something which you can think of. Just give me a while. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So now, see, in if you're talking about the power of public sentiment, that is something which we was talking about. So as the pandemic spread, I mean that is the time we have seen the power of understanding the public sentiment, and that point of time there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation, and the government that had leveraged social listening tools, they were able to track this misinformation in real time, and they responded very swiftly with the verified communication, preventing panic and restoring public trust. And in fact, like our government also did a lot of things. So it was not just like putting out content or debunking content, but first is like trying and find out what was that misinformation which had gone viral, because that was the first step to figure out what kind of content they had to prepare. So and it's very important, because that's how you actually gauge your stakeholders sentiments. So and this happens every time, and especially if we are doing any research that's based on crisis communication, I think at that point of time, social listening tools and monitoring tools helps us a lot in finding out their sentiment, how people are searching, how people are behaving at that point of time. So, why social listening matters for research? Now, see, if you look at our country, if you look at the population and the people who are connected with internet, there are more than 800 million people who are connected with internet, and India generates over 1 billion digital conversations daily. So, which means that's the kind of conversation which is happening. People are talking to each other. The people are asking questions. Sometimes, there are certain things which they cannot share with others, but still they are asking, on search engines. And, there are a lot of dark secrets, I would say, that you will be able to unearth when you see like how people are searching on all these platforms. So these conversations are happening on the platforms like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, different regional forum. And these conversations, they are the pulse of public sentiment, and most of the time they are unheard. Now, of course, like at the time of the elections, everybody had understood the power of the public sentiment, and something which is going online, especially like on social media platforms. And all the political communication agencies, they are investing a lot in trying and understand how people are behaving, engaging, talking to each other, conducting themselves online. So that's something which is had started happening. So um, so it's a move beyond slow surveys and scattered reports. Of course, like if you talk about survey, earlier, of course, like if I again take example of political campaigns, people were engaged in surveys, and they were trying to find out what was the public sentiment. But now everything is happening online. But yes, uh, there is a catch here. The problem is, this is something which you can only do with the people who are connected with internet. So if I'm saying 800 billion people, I'm talking about those 800 million people, I'm talking about that population only. But there are a lot of people, I mean, even now they do not have access to internet. So if you need to reach to those people, of course, like going out with your survey makes sense. But otherwise, for those who are connected, I think there's no point going out and doing the research the way we used to do earlier. There's a lot which you can find on internet. Second, like monitor real-time sentiment on issues, policies, programs. The budget was out recently, and nowadays, it doesn't take much. Earlier, like after the budget, the sentiment was reflected in the kind of coverage which any budget used to get, maybe like in newspapers or television. But now, I mean, you see it happening in front of you. People start talking about budget with proper hashtag with that particular budget, and then you can see like what's happening. Whether it's going down well with the people, what kind of people are reacting to budget. So everything is happening real time. Then detect emerging trends. That's also very important. For example, the kind of conversation which are happening on different subjects. So for example, emerging trends like artificial intelligence. People have started talking a lot about climate change, weather, all these issues. So the moment you start monitoring, you start listening, you get to know what are the trends and how people are searching content. And then of course, managing crisis swiftly, and which could be like local to national, and that's more for agencies who handle crisis and who handle different accounts. Now, coming on to what is social listening and monitoring. See, till now I've been talking about these two terms, and I was using these terms interchangeably. Sometimes I was saying social listening, sometimes I was saying, social monitoring. So the first and the foremost is, we need to understand what is the difference between the two. So, social monitoring, it's a rear view mirror in the sense that it focuses on direct mentions. It tracks what people are saying about an issue, and used mainly for the reactive responses. And especially, like, if you're running a campaign, or maybe, like, say for example, the budget was out, or maybe like at the time of pandemic when there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation. So we were monitoring the social media platform, and we were responding directly to, whenever we feel that there was a need to respond to that particular thing. So it's a very short term, or maybe like specific to certain issues, or certain time. But when we talk about social listening, it's a strategic radar, which means it analyzes themes, sentiments, it enables tracking trends, allows for proactive action. So, for example, we knew that even before budget, people started searching about that particular thing. So social listening is basically to know the trends, how people are searching, their sentiment, what are their expectations, how would they react, when the budget would be out. So basically, analyzing different themes, the different topics on which people are searching. So this is like one concept, which is social monitoring, which is for a specific period, for a specific cause, and it's more of a reactive responses. But when you're talking about social listening, it's a broader thing wherein we try and understand what exactly people feel is important, what is bothering them, how do they feel about the major issues, trying to find out what are the trends, and so that like we take some proactive actions based on that listening. Now, benefits of monitoring and listening both. One is, of course, like if you look at uh, PR sector, or maybe like marketing sector, it helps in formulating the main items we want to evaluate and monitor for our social media activities. It could be like monitoring through hashtags, phrases, accounts, users, influencers. So these are the things which you use to monitor any content. Then, of course, identifying influences and top external channel driving traffic to the social media platform. See, identifying influencers are very important. And this is like one small research, which, and this was an applied research which I did a few years back. And the research was like, it was given to me, and this was like, I don't know whether you remember or not, when that Doklam standoff happened. So at that point of time, we were told to find out, who are the biggest influencers for that Doklam standoff hashtag. And the reason why, and this is an applied research, right? So which means people were talking about Doklam issue, and we were told that who are these people who are tweeting or retweeting a lot on this particular issue. So what we did was we identified around 6 or 7 trending hashtags at that point of time related to Doklam standoff, and then we gave a list of around 25 people and organizations who were having a lot of conversations around them. And then, since it was an applied thing, so which means that if someone is working in this particular area, they have to engage with those 25 people, or this is for the reputation management, or building narratives and all. So you have to engage with them. So trying to find out who are the influencers for maybe like certain hashtags, certain keywords, is something which is very important. And these influencers are, of course, like the way we used to talk about opinion leaders. We did a lot of research on opinion leaders, how they take decisions, how their decisions impact the decisions of other people who look up to them, especially like during elections. And nowadays, like we have these influencers who influence a lot of content which goes online in today's time. And then, of course, evaluating which accounts, websites, brands, blogs, and other external links will help show impact of word of mouth. And then analyze and measuring key trends. It could be positive, negative surrounding an event. Uh, so that is something which is like your sentiment analysis. And then of course like calculating the overall growth of your community audience, their behavior, measurement of their behavior, how they are responding to this. What can be monitored? So this is like the benefits, and what can be monitored is you can track engagement, how different people are engaging with certain type of content. You can monitor their sentiment, positive, negative. I think it is there in this slide, but for example, most of the PR agencies, they use the social monitoring tools, which are called Brand Watch and Meltwater. So in that case, for any particular word, I mean, you could also tell the sentiment, positive or negative. How they are, taking or understanding that particular issue, or like what is their viewpoint on that particular thing, based on the kind of words which were being used when they were putting or making that particular search query. And of course, like behavioral actions, like, share, comments from content across platforms. So these are the things which can be monitored through social media monitoring and listening. You also try and monitor like what are the best time and places to post and engage with content. And this is again mostly for those who are working in the industry. We need to know what is the right time to post any content and engage with that particular content. Then it also helps you in finding what your competitors are doing, compare their operation and engagement with yours. It also tells you about your audience's repetitiveness and behavioral intentions to take action based on message given. So how they are behaving, what are the patterns. And this is like how most of the e-commerce platform they're working, and they're using those particular data sets. And then of course you evaluate response times for the social care team in responding and engaging with lead generated from social media conversations. That's mainly for those who are into digital marketing. You can identify different inquiries, different comments. You can discover what content actually resonated with audiences depending upon how they're engaging, liking, sharing that particular thing, and amount of time they are spending on that content. And this is extremely important and very easy in today's time. See, you remember like when we had to do those readership surveys, or even like for if you're talking about the television viewership, I mean, that was really very difficult, right? And that was always said that every time, I mean, it used to be in a controversy, whether it is being done rightly or not. But nowadays, I think, this is something which is very easily available. You have a YouTube channel, and you go to the analytics of that. It tells you everything. It tells you like how many people watched that video, from where they have watched video, what was that point in the video wherein people were watching the most, at what point they left that particular video. So everything is available in today's time, and that actually tells you how do you create content and how do you retain your audiences on your platform. And then of course like it helps in measuring overall health of brand community as a whole. Now when we are doing social media listening, monitoring, metrics is something very important. That's the word and the term which is being used. And this is the data collected by social media researchers in a systematic manner that allows businesses or brands in question to know what worked, what didn't, and what to do differently next time. Now, this metrics could be click-through rates, how many times people click on link to navigate to another website. So we might have heard about CTR number of times. So this is like your click-through rates, which tells you how many times people click on a link to navigate to another website. Then you have behavioral metrics, which is about what action people are taking on social media. And then we also have something called vanity metrics, or metrics that make all of us feel really good but really do not tell us like anything substantial. For example, when you're talking about vanity metrics, there are a lot of people, I mean, who take pride and they feel very good that they're following these many people on Instagram, or they have these many followers. But at the end of it, this does not translate into any conversion, or maybe like behavioral change. So this is something which we call a vanity matrix. Now, these are different categories of matrix which we have right now. Um, the basic matrix is, which means your followers, engagement, sentiment. This is something which you're measuring. Advanced metric, like when you dive into actions and psychographics, which means attitudes, behavior, opinion of audience members. Then you have channel metrics, the different channels and the different platforms, they have the different metrics. So for example, for the Instagram, Snapchat, how do you measure that particular thing? So these are like some of the terms which are being used when we talk about the different types of metrics. So maybe like as a researcher, we might not use all, but at least like we should know what are the different categories of metrics. So for example, if you're talking about the behavioral, you have something called applause rate, or maybe like influencer impact. So these are the metrics which are being used to measure how and what people are doing on social media platform. Now, coming to some of the tools which are available, and these tools can help you in doing number of things. For example, conversation drives, in the sense that you would find there are certain people who are advocates of something, some are naysayers, and you would like to find out, especially like, say for example, if you're doing research in the field of film appreciation or cinema review of certain movies, so you will find that sort of data. And these tools can help you in finding and mining that data set. And then of course, sentiment analysis, what is the opinion of people on certain issues. Then trend for forecasting, themes of conversations, not just like the specific topics, but what are the themes, are they are more interested in movies, or maybe like OTT platforms, or like they're interested in food and nutrition, blogging. So like the different themes, and that is something which can be gathered through these tools. Comparative analysis, of course, it's very important, because as I said, the research which I did on the cabinet ministers and the different ministries, it was mainly about comparing different cabinet ministers and different ministries. And then tags, hashtags, keywords, how they're performing, how they're trending. Why is it certain hashtags work well, certain keywords work well, why the others are not working so well. So, and of course, like why people end up using certain types of hashtag in their posts. And then, of course, like volumetric analysis, which includes your number of mentions, number of likes, and which is more of a number thing. Now, coming to toolkit overview, see, these are the three things which we have right now. There are a number of tools. Say, for example, if you search for social media monitoring or social media listening, you might come across a lot of tools. And as I said before, um, most of the tools are paid tools. And of course, like these are the products for which we need to pay. This is the service available for us. So initially, they all start with the free version of it. Once they realize that it's doing well, they start asking for money, which is absolutely fine, because that's how they earn. That's how they survive in this competitive world. And I always say that there's nothing free, no free lunches. So if you're not paying for a product, then you become the product. So it's always good to pay for the services. But yes, as an academician, as researchers, we might not be having these many resources. So we try and find out something which is valuable free of cost many a times. And then all these tools and all these platforms, they also keep that thing in mind that not everybody in a position to pay. So they do have this, some of the tools, they do have this thing feature wherein there are certain feature of that particular tool can be accessed free of cost, but for others you might have to pay. Some offer like maybe like a monthly trial or so, and then if you like it very much, then you might end up paying for that particular thing. But anyways, if you have want to get into social media research, so there are one or two tools I think you might have to have access to. So I mean, there is no two thoughts about this. So Brandwatch is one. As I said before, most of the PR agencies, they are using it right now for global sentiment tracking, deep analytics, ideal for crisis response, used by a lot of government departments globally to monitor policy feedback and events. In fact, like if you are doing research on any government programs right now, and if you want to see like how it's performing, I think you should consider Brandwatch, Meltwater too. Because it gives you entire sentiment analysis on what is happening related to that. Then you have this key, which is again media and PR intelligence, strong government applications. It also track mentions across digital and print media, ideal for visibility, benchmarking. Then I really like these two. Many of you might have worked on Perplexity and Mool.ai. And this is mainly for research, AI driven public discourse analysis, and generated automated insight and summaries, and save a lot of decision time. And I would like to show these two platforms with the case, right? For example, this is like Mool.ai, Perplexity AI, and both the tools, like they're excellent tools. Just take out some time to work on this. Perplexity, I think most of the academicians, they are using it. Another one I would suggest that try and use it, and you'll find excellent insights using this. So, for example, you just give a prompt, and it while you're giving a prompt, and it extracts content from the different sources. So when you're talking about perplexities, it is not creating its own this thing and not being trained on or doesn't have its own LLM and all, but like it all extracts content from all other AI platforms. So that's why it's very good at giving you different sources from where you're getting that particular content. And then Mool is excellent platform, which means you give a prompt. For example, in this we gave this prompt that tell us about wave summit that had happened recently. And then we said that what are the objectives and how people are collaborating on during waves. And these are the few prompts which we gave. And what Mool does is that it gives you cards like this. So and very detailed, which means like you have data also, and different cards are there, and automatically and I'll show you like this particular tool also. So that's an excellent thing, and you get the content from different platforms, different AI platforms also, different websites also. Same is Perplexity. It actually curates content for you from different sources. So we do get like a lot of content from Chat GPT and all, but I think if you really want the deep research, I personally like Perplexity for that particular thing. Brandwatch this is like the dashboard of Brandwatch, and as you can see, the query India and then bracket Wave Summit or World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit, which was the full name, or Waves and 2025 and country. This is the query, and we call it Boolean query. And this is how you search. Ideally, should be searching on social media platforms and also um, on social other search engines. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Is it there now?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's visible.
It's there. Okay. Okay. So I was showing you a brand watch and we were talking about queries, right? So we call it Boolean queries also, which means how do you search content on search engines, social media, and your results mostly are as good as your query. If your query is good, proper, only then you'll get the right results. Many a times, we say that, oh, I didn't get the result, but the thing is that we might not have used the right query for that. So we'll be talking about this thing also in a while. But this is how brand watch looks like. For example, top post, summary of like key insights from Global Entertainment Summit, how people are searching on online news, X platform. So we only tried to find out it on X and other platform, total mentions, reach, unique visitors. As you can see, the sentiment analysis also, so positive, negative, so that's also there. So it's important because if you are organizing an event of that scale, so you need to know how people are searching, how people are um, engaging with the post. And this also tells you, like, so the kind of influencers, which means like the people who are I'm so sorry, like someone was here. So this also tells like who are the people, I mean, who are tweeting and sharing a lot of information on this. So for example, we also did it for US tariff wars because that was the time when we needed to know the kind of sentiment among people. Again, we put the prompt and these are the outputs. Please do try and use mool.ai, and you maybe thank me for that later on. But that's an excellent tool. And then of course you get your summarization also, and these are each and every card, and many a times it gives you a lot of good infographics, and from wherever like that infographic and the data has been used, it will cull out and extract that data for you people to use. So both Mool AI, Perplexity, excellent tools, especially like when you are trying to find out content from different sources. Again, like for the brand watch, this was the query which we had used, and this is like, say for example, sentiment, negative, positive, people who were making a lot of content, the searches over the time, online news, X, and then the mentions, reach, unique authors for that particular content. So, but again, Brandwatch is a paid tool, so you might have to pay for this to use it. But yes, you can use Answer the Public, you can use Mool AI. Again, in Mool AI, something you'll get free of cost, but then for other features, you might have to upgrade. Now, see, we were talking about this, like these queries, and I feel that when you're talking about social media monitoring and listening, we need to be we need to understand these queries, because only then we'll be able to get right sort of results. Now, as I said, these are called Boolean queries. These are also called search operators. This is like how you search content. So whenever you use and for example, always in capital one, it limits your results So, for example, if you use vaccine and injury, you'll get the results in which both the terms are used, right? So, it will limit your results. However, when you're using or, which is OR, and that too capital, it expands your result. For example, Covaxin or Covishield. So it will give you all the results where either Covaxin was used or Covishield was used. So the number would be much larger. So it totally depends upon like what kind of content and how you would like to have those results. For example, parenthesis, you have seen like when I showed you that particular query, it helps you in combining and or searches. For example, you are trying to find out the injury or the effect of all these vaccines. So you can write Moderna or Pfizer, and then you use and then injury or harm. So what you'll get, all the results wherein the impact of vaccine on people will be there. So because we have used and there, but it could be Moderna, it could be Pfizer, it could be like any other injury. So this is how like we put these queries in parentheses, and of course like helping us to combine and or searches. This vaccine, vaccinate, Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca. So here we are talking about vaccination and the vaccine, and then of course we are talking about the impact of that, the effect of that, side effect of that. So we are talking about injury, harm, death, side effect. So it could be anything. But so the thing we are interested in is vaccination and its impact on people. So and people use different terms for that, so let that be there with the different terms. We don't have any issues, but what we actually want to find out is like the impact and the effect of vaccination on people. So this is how it is being done. You have to consider misspellings also, because many a times a lot of people spell content and misspell content while they are searching that thing on search engines. So that also, that's absolutely fine. You might have to do that particular thing, and especially on social media platform. Say for example, after vaccination there were a lot of people, they were sharing their own experiences. Now you are doing a research wherein you want to find out people's experiences after they got vaccinated. So at that point of time we have to keep in mind different spellings, because people would spell it or misspell those particular terms. So consider misspellings also, and then use quotation marks if you want to search for a term made up of multiple words. Otherwise search engine or social media searches will you know read brain separately and barrier separately. So if you want brain barrier, both the terms to be read, then you have to put it in the quotation mark. And then of course, like if you're talking, I'm so sorry that visual is not there. Site searches, for example, you're doing a research on mental health and children, so you're looking at Facebook pages. So site column facebook.com/pages, because you are trying to find out content from different pages, and then you can write mental health and children, so you will get a lot of content from the pages. Of course, like all these pages are public pages which are talking about mental health and children. Okay. So, takeaways for the case studies. Mool AI produces a supremely in-depth level of research. Perplexity provides shorter, more opinionated research perspective backed by sources in every paragraph. Research from the two sources together can be assimilated and compiled if you want to use it. Of course, like you have to use variety of sources to do your work. Then Brandwatch analyzes conversation volumes on social media, online news platforms over a period of time. It demonstrates like consumer sentiment. So these are the things which people can do. And Whiskey analyzing traditional media conversation. So that's something which is possible through this. So I've told you three tools which are available right now. Now coming on to the very important aspect of it, which is social media monitoring and ethical concerns. Um, See, monitoring is good. It gives you insight. It helps you in doing your research. It tells you like how people are perceiving, certain policies and programs, but at the end of it, while you're doing social media monitoring or when you're listening, you are taking their data, right? So, one, uh, lack of informed consent, which means like if you are doing this, whether you've taken consent of those particular people or not. So in that case, most of the platforms nowadays, they allow you to extract content only from the pages which are publicly available. For example, as you've seen, Facebook pages. So you will find, the content from there because that's publicly available, but difficult for the accounts. Then privacy and surveillance monitoring tools can create detailed, intimate profile of individuals, leading to unwarranted surveillance of private lives that can happen. Data security and ownership, data collected from platforms may be insecure, misused. So that is something which we have to keep in mind. Algorithmic bias and discrimination, especially like when you're talking about AI driven monitoring, something which we have seen, for example, your Perplexity and Mool AI. It can also amplify discrimination based on race, gender, and other characteristics. And this is something that had happened, number of times, and there've been number of cases wherein we have seen algorithmic biases, like, for example, Amazon, their hiring process. So what they did was they used AI for screening and sifting of applications, and later on they realized that that AI, which they had deployed to do that particular thing, it was preferring applications of the male candidates. And the reason was, their LLM was trained mostly on the resumes of their former male employees. And that's why, when it came to recruitment and screening of applications, so those are the things which were given preference, and the females, like, they were excluded from that particular thing, and it became a lot of controversy. They had to close that particular thing. Another one was one very important case study, which was of beauty AI. Now this was beauty AI was online pageant, but again the LLM was like trained on certain type of beauty parameters. For example, if you have big eyes, you're beautiful, or if you have a fair skin, you're beautiful. So that was also excluding people from different countries and different race. So that also created problem. And similarly, when you talk about algorithmic biases and discrimination, we have a lot of such case studies available right now. And then of course mental health and manipulation, that's another thing, because if you are uh, extracting a lot of data, so it becomes easy to target people with certain sort of content, and that can happen. In fact, I don't know, you would like to say or put this in that category wherein, um, for example, uh, evening when you reach home and everything is being tracked, you're driving, your location, and all these e-commerce platforms knows that you're about to reach, and then you get a message that it looks like you've just reached home and you're hungry, right? So that's the kind of monitoring which is being happening. And of course, like, they're monetizing that monitoring, because everybody knows that that's the time people would like to have something, they might order something, so they're leveraging on that particular thing. So the com sector, PR, advertising, they are doing this. Vulnerable population, specific risks exist when studying on monitoring vulnerable groups, minors, refugees. So that's another thing. This is like one case study when we are talking about ethics, right? Many of you might have heard of Cambridge Analytica. uh, Cambridge Analytica. This is like a British political consulting group, and which was founded in 2013, had to close down. And this actually started. The controversy started with one game, and the name of the game was "This Is Your Digital Life." And we many a times play different games on online, social media platform, and this game was like to tell people that they can find out what kind of personality they have. So they have to put in, something about themselves, and they were told that, okay, you have this sort of personality. Now this app was started, a lot of data was collected from this, not only from the people who gave their consent to be a part of this particular study or the game, but the people who were friends with those who were part of this experiment, their data was also taken. And this data was used to create psychological profiles and for the targeting for political advertising. And it is said, and of course, like, there are a lot of books and everything, that 2016 campaign of Donald Trump, at that point of time, this data was used, wherein people were sent targeted messages, specific messages, depending upon their interest, depending upon, what they were looking for. And that's how, Trump won at that point of time. And it was like led to the closure of Cambridge Analytica. And of course, like, the Facebook was in deep trouble, after that particular thing. So a lot of content which is being generated, used by different political, consulting group. So those ethics also play a very important role, and these are the things which we have to keep in mind while we are uh, monitoring, when we are extracting data. So that's the thing which uh, makes our work easier, but many a times makes it difficult also. So quickly, what I'll do is, I will take you through one or two of the tools which I've just talked about. Okay. Okay, I think I can't change this. Anyways, if you have any question, please feel free to ask question.